Hello and welcome to a case study webinar. Now, this is the first of a new series of webinars where we will talk about a certain case study published on Umbraco.com. I am Anders Sorensen, and I am head of sales and partner channels here in Umbraco. Now, most web projects built today, neither the customer or the web agency know the end result when the project is started. So other case studies can be of inspiration and can be of a big help to align expectations for the upcoming project. The purpose of this series of webinars is to dive a bit deeper into a sector and a specific web project and how that can be built. So if you are an end client, a marketeer, a business owner, or a CMO, or you might even working at a web agency, then this can be the right place to be for inspiration. This very first webinar is about a great project in the tourism and hospitality built by the Umbraco Gold partner Equator, located in Glasgow. And we will look more deeper into villagehotels.com. And with me today, I have Carole Logan. Carole is the lead developer of this project. And Carole, please introduce yourself and tell us what you have for us today.
Yeah, so I'm Carole. I'm a development team lead at Equator. I just want to check you can all see my next slide. Slides are sharing okay?
Yep.
Yeah, great. So yeah, I'm going to take you through one of the case studies of our project that we've worked on over the last few years and let you know how that came to be and all of the cool stuff we've done along the way. I'm a developer, but I'm going to try and keep it not too technical, just the right amount of technical for hopefully everyone that's joined us. And if anyone has any questions, I think the Zoom has a feature that you can type in any questions or any comments, and Anders, you can shout in with any questions. If any
I'll try to follow up on most questions
awesome.
asked. Yeah.
Fab, thanks. I'll just get started.
Yeah, cool.
So what we'll cover today is I'll let you know a little bit about us and the team that worked on the project, what the original project brief was and what we went live with originally. And then what's really interesting is what you do beyond go live, right? How we maintain and improve and always make the solution better. So we'll discuss some of those improvements. And then some of the really cool innovative stuff that we've done, I'm really proud of. And then we'll go on to just a brief look at the future of hotel tech. So it's a lot to get through. We've got a half hour. So
we're looking forward to it, Carole.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah. I'll just get started. So a little bit about us. As you mentioned, we're based in Glasgow and in London. I'm in the Glasgow office, if you can't tell from my accent, and I'll try and speak slowly. And we have all these circles here show the awesome team that we have. So I'm obviously here as a representative from Dev, but to make this case study and this project, it took input from all of these teams to make it as successful as it was. And a little bit about us and Umbraco. We've been using Umbraco for over 10 years as a team, and this slide just kind of shows all the kind of involvement that we have. You know, we're active code contributors and we host a local Glasgow meetup too. So we think that our knowledge and expertise in Umbraco is really what helped us in this case study.
Yeah, and Carole, you've been quite active in the community around Umbraco as well. I know that.
Thank you. Yeah, it's good fun. Always fun to be around the community, and cool to share one of our case studies with you too.
Yes.
So Village Hotels as a company we've worked with, I think it's like over 12 years now. And for me personally, since day one that I started at Equator on an older version of the solution that we had back then, which is 7 years. So it's a kind of a long relationship we have with the client, and it means that we know them really well, they know us really well, and we understand the website requirements and the users.
And Carole, how many different hotels is there in underneath the Village Hotels domain?
Yes, So when we started this project, I think it was around 27, 28, and there's now 31. So part of the challenge that we had was making sure we could build a site that could grow without that being a lot of work for a village team every time, a new hotel opened.
And all located in UK?
Yes, they're all in the UK, all around different parts of the UK.
But that could be a lot of different hotel chains, having a variety of locations in a specific locations, and then managing all the things on booking hotels and all that stuff, information on each location and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's kind of one of the challenges that we had. So I'll take you on to kind of what the brief was, and
okay,
it was, of course, a new website with a new CMS and a kind of bespoke booking engine. So we built a booking engine that integrated with their third-party supplier for a property management system, and that not only takes web bookings, it what kind of keeps the hotel ticking. It's when you go into to check in, they use the same system, or when you book online or book over the phone, they all go through this central system. So that was a really key integration for us. They also had a new brand at the time of go live. So as well as from dev, it being a new architecture, the design team had to design for a whole new brand too. And we were supporting their move to these new business systems. So that property management system that I mentioned was actually being rolled out one hotel at a time. So like you mentioned, different hotels have different requirements and needs at different times. So it's not like a website where you can just click and it goes live. These systems, you need to actually change one hotel at a time. So we had to actually support on go live of the site 2 different booking engines with 2 different property management systems behind them. Okay. And we needed to make that as easy as possible for them to manage. And support new hotels opening. So like your question earlier, we had to make it really easy for a new hotel to open, to integrate it with the booking engine, and to go live on the site when it was needed.
Yeah. And the brief here, was that quite clear, Carole, or did you have to help them scope the project as well?
I think because we know from previous versions of the site, we know the client really well, and we did kind of get that understanding that we are moving from one business system to another, and that was just for booking. There was also table booking and CRM and all those fun things. So it really was like a transformation thing. That wasn't just a new website, it was kind of changing the tech throughout the business that we were part of. Okay. So from dev, we kind of took that as it needs to be flexible. We need to be able to add, remove hotels and configure which booking engine it goes to. It needs to be future-proof, because we know based on experience with hotels that systems kind of underneath the website change, requirements change, branding changes relatively often. So we knew from experience that one was important. And support growth. So we knew that they wanted to have, they had a plan for opening all these new hotels over the next few years. So we had to make sure that the site could sustain that. So we kind of took these as the technical challenges to meet that overarching brief. So this is as technical as it will get, I promise. Yeah. So this is the architecture we kind of went for, a kind of simplified version of. We had the website that was built in Umbraco. And it had most of the kind of brochure site, if we call it that, all of the content. And we had the booking engine, which was a separate app. And we actually decided to make that a separate application on a separate domain. There's lots of advantages to that. It means that you can deploy it on its own without risking the main site, and the other way around. Means if one's down, the other's not down, for maintenance and things like that. So, but what we done to make sure we could still use the CMS and have shared content to the booking engine is we built a bunch of APIs. So that really means is you can populate content in Umbraco, and they can be available in another application. And that's something referred to like headless. And yeah, so we had it using the content for the website, but also a kind of headless approach for the APIs for the booking engine. Okay. Mm-hmm. And just underneath, you can see that we've made the distinction of the CRM, the table booking payment provider, booking system, and the kind of booking insurance. We made a point in our architecture to make these, we're conscious of that these things change, and that we had to have an architecture that was future proof and sustainable. So we kind of built it in such a way that if we need to take one of those out and put another in, we're experienced in doing that, and we know that we can do without having to completely rebuild the whole application.
And Carole, the booking system was for the rooms on each location, and the table booking was for each restaurant in each location.
Yeah, and some of the restaurants have different systems underneath. Some may be open table and some may be another system. So we had to make that configurable. And how we managed that with the two different booking systems for rooms and for table was we built both integrations, and we made it a kind of drop down in the CMS that when the switch happened from one to the other and physically in the hotel, all we had to do was change some configuration in the CMS, click publish, and for that hotel you're then taken to the relevant booking engine now. So there was no big deployment or anything that was required from dev. There was just a content publish on those days.
Okay.
So one of the key things that give the flexibility that we felt was really important was we went for a component-driven design and build. So the designers built, we kind of think of it as Lego, you can like put pieces together and make page templates, and they built a boilerplate of components to choose from and gave advice on which components should go with others so that we can still follow the design pattern on it. And that meant that we had flexible templates. We've learned from previous versions of the site that it needs to be flexible. Fixed templates for, say, a restaurant page or a gym page aren't going to work. We need to be able to swap in and out templates. And it also means there's less reliance on development. If you want to add a new section to a page, we can add a new component. We don't have to completely redesign a set page template.
But this was the standard components of each hotel's represented in the hotel chain.
Yes, so every hotel you could, so the screenshot at the side just kind of shows one of the hotels in Umbraco, and they can add, remove content, they can reorder, they can do whatever is bespoke to that hotel, because some hotels have a gym, one has I think golf, so they need to be able to make that bespoke to each hotel. And using that approach and architecture, we launched villagehotels.co.uk, and we had the brochure site, we had the links to 2 different booking engines that I mentioned, and various different business systems were changing throughout that time, and we used the component-based approach and the improved design and new brand from the design team. And what was really important to us, it was an improved editor experience in the CMS too. We wanted to make it something that was easy to manage day to day, for managing the content, the configuration, and any campaigns that the client had. So that was day one. That was when we went live.
Okay.
And what we would like to talk about is show that for us, it's not just we put a site live and say goodbye and that's it. We want to constantly improve. Some based on new requirements, some based on data that we get, and we can see from analytics and from our insights team if different areas of the site aren't performing as well in terms of bookings or inquiries, and we can then use that data to improve. So we have some examples of
and day one, Carole, how long ago is that?
I think that was around 2017.
Okay, so about 3 years ago it went live, and then you were building on and on.
Yep, and then the same version of the site is still live, and there's been further requirements changes. There's been further systems underneath changing that we've had to adapt to, and we'll show some of how that's adapted over that time. So one of the things that we were able to support because of the way that we had built it in Umbraco was multi-site. So if anyone's used Umbraco, you can host multiple domains in the one instance, but because we had our component-based approach in the component library, we were able to create a new domain on a new site within the same Umbraco for a new flagship hotel. It was for the Portsmouth Hotel. And it was a new website. They could manage it in with their usual content. I think we created 1 or 2 new components to give it a kind of bespoke look and style, but we were able to reuse most of the components from the main site on the Portsmouth microsite. That made it quick to launch and just a lot easier for everyone to manage it in one place and not too much development work, because it wasn't a whole new site that was being built.
So this flagship hotel had its own domain where all the others was under the same domain.
Yes. yeah, and it was kind of help with the launch of that. So this is how it looked.
Okay.
And we could reuse a lot of the shared components. We could still have all the same logic for booking a room or for joining the gym or for booking an event. And they could all link off to all that service layer that we already had. It could utilize that the same as the main site.
Beautiful.
One thing I think is really cool in the village site is Umbraco forms. People that use Umbraco will be probably aware of Umbraco forms. It can do some really cool stuff and can make forms really simple. So what we used forms for was the client needed to be able to spin up quite quickly campaign forms. People can sign up, give information either for events or for offers or something like that. So we didn't want that to have to be a dev request each time. They should be able to set those up themselves. So we used Umbraco forms, but we knew that the data had to get to the CRM and to make sure that it went to the right place in the CRM. So what we built was a custom workflow in Umbraco forms that meant that when you could attach it to the form and you click submit and it does the right thing, is kind of what a workflow means. So it means that it would go through to the CRM. We could have a label in the configuration of the Umbraco form that basically was like, put it here in the CRM. And it could be specific to campaigns, so you can upload a specific email template that when someone submits, so say it was a Christmas form, if you fill it in and click submit, it would put you into the Christmas area in the CRM and would also send you a specific email about the Christmas offer.
Okay.
And again, it made it...
Was this, Carole, was these campaign handled centrally by their marketing team or in each hotels even?
I think it was, these were centrally and the marketing team, but usually the forms would have a drop down for which hotel you were interested in. And again, we could put people in the relevant place in the CRM using that workflow, using those fields that were collected too. So,
but the point being that you empowered the client to do this themselves, that they didn't have to have any developer or buy any help from you each time they wanted to create a campaign where end clients should submit something on the website.
Yeah, definitely. After the initial dev work, the upfront of building the workflow and the ability to upload the specific campaigns, then and the emails, then yeah, they can do it each time themselves. And one real cool use case I think that is used for was their Black Friday sales. They used Umbraco forms for I think they've done a buy one get one free on food and drink. So as you can imagine that would be really popular. And yeah, I think like 11,000 submits on the Black Friday sale last year, all using the forms that the client were able to set up themselves.
Okay,
so,
and before they had this, they didn't do campaigns like this, or at least they couldn't do it themselves?
No, we wouldn't be able to do it themselves. We'd have to, get a brief for that and build something bespoke if it were required.
Yeah, that's quite amazing.
Yeah, so it's really cool, and they've used it year after year for Black Friday sales, for Christmas, or whenever they have a campaign like that can't go through the booking engine. So yeah, that's one we were really proud of. Another really cool one that, like I mentioned, that we were able to get data to drive some of these changes was the dynamic pricing. So we could show that once people go into the booking engine, what the conversion rate is from the main site. But one of the main challenges was there was no real-time pricing on the main Umbraco website. And different hotels have different pricing for different times of the year and things like that. So we could put a from price, but it wasn't totally accurate. So what we done was we wanted to integrate with the booking APIs like we do in the booking engine, but they aren't super fast, and we wanted the site to stay as performant as it was. So what we done was we built a custom API that we integrated to an Umbraco component that we had actually cached some of the pricing from each hotel for tonight, tomorrow, and the price at the weekend, and we could show that on the website. So I'll show you how that looked. So this is the London Watford page. We were able to show you that's the price tonight and that's the price tomorrow. It was previously, in this example, £1 more, and that's the price at the weekend, and it lets people see a price point for that hotel that otherwise wasn't there, or it was a from price. So yeah, we actually.
Just so the normally, if the booking engine system was fast enough, you would take the prices directly. Because it wasn't, then you actually took the nearest prices into the website to be able to show them fast.
Well, yeah, the booking engine was fast enough, but it was when you're in there. But because we know a lot more people hit the brochure site than hit the booking engine, we wanted to make sure we didn't have a detrimental effect on the performance of the booking engine. So if we can cache that, and for these pages that are hit, quite heavily and quite often, we wanted to make sure we weren't having a bad performance on our booking engine or from the third party that we get the data from. So these prices were cached, I think, like every half hour or an hour to make sure that they were accurate.
Okay.
And we actually found that it made a really big impact on how users behaved. And we found that when people were presented with this and say they clicked on tonight, 10% of people that clicked on tonight actually booked in the booking engine for tonight.
That's a quite good conversion rate.
Yeah, it's a really good conversion rate.
It had an impact on this one.
Oh, absolutely. It had. So tonight and tomorrow, adding those buttons made when you went through that route, conversion rate was at 10% and 11% for those respectively. So
it must have almost paid for the whole project here.
Yeah, I don't have those numbers, but our account manager updated me on the performance of those. From the analytics, and it's always good as a dev to know that the work that you've done has actually had a tangible impact on the project and on the client. So
quite satisfying.
Yeah, definitely. So that was a really great one.
Mm-hmm.
So Christmas parties are another part of the site that is really heavily used. We usually start working on Christmas in like May each year. And it's a really big thing for Village. They have a lot of party nights, Christmas dinners, Christmas lunches, lots of office and family parties. And for each hotel, they have lots of events. So when we upload them to the CMS, it's hundreds, if not approaching maybe 1,000 bits of content that have to be updated. So what we done was we built a custom importer from a CSV that we can just dynamically upload to the CMS, and it means that the client doesn't have to go in and update every single bit of content themselves. And there's also the complexity of there's some shared content across all hotels, so the kind of branding and what's included in a party night, for example, whereas say the Glasgow hotel might have slightly different pricing or a menu or T's and C's than the London one. So we made it that there was shared content, but also overridable content for each of those locations. And this saved hours and hours of content population.
So let me get this right, Carole, because of this importer, then they don't have to create all the hundreds of events each year, but you can actually help them update them this way.
Yeah, exactly that. So when we get the list from the client in the CSV form, we can upload it for them. So we utilized some of the Umbraco APIs that are available as devs to make that importer work and save the client hours of content population, probably days of content population with that many nodes.
The alternative was that they created all new content each Christmas.
Yes, well, the campaigns are usually different each Christmas, but it means that now we have that CSV upload that we can do that for them.
Okay, nice.
And on to some of the innovation stuff. So you probably saw when I showed that diagram of the circle of all the teams that we have. One of the teams we have is innovation. And these are some of the projects that came out of the innovation team and we worked on with the Village team that we were really proud of. So we first of all have the hotel lobby smart screens. So as you can see, there's a video on the side. Is that playing okay? Of how it works. So I actually took the video in the Glasgow hotel because my gym is in the Glasgow hotel. So I get to walk by it in the lobby and say, we built that. That's really cool.
Well, that must be also very satisfying.
Yeah, like when as a developer, usually it's like on the internet, which is kind of, you can't point at it and say that was me. So it's quite cool to have a physical location that you can see your work. Yeah. So what we had there was the client wanted to have big screens with kind of campaigns or adverts on there that people could see when they come into the hotel or they go to the gym or whatever. And initially, I think they were just going to put the kind of static assets up there. But what we thought was, well, we have a CMS, and we already have all of these assets probably in the media library. Let's make those content manageable to the screens. And what we decided to do was actually take it a little bit further and make it dynamic per location. So the adverts, say in Glasgow, will be different than those in Manchester. You could actually advertise specific to each location.
Okay. And each location, they could update screens themselves as well?
Yeah, so you can use Umbraco permissions that you can limit folks to specific areas of the CMS to make sure they can only update their own content for their own location. And they can upload stuff that's relevant. So say one hotel really wants to push a particular spa offer or a gym offer, then they can do that.
Okay.
And one really cool thing that we've done was we utilised an Umbraco community package called Personalization Groups. There's a little screenshot here. And you can set in the CMS different criteria for when a certain campaign should show. So this one is a Saturday between 2 and 5. So it might be the football advert, for example. And we can only show that content in that scenario. And it means that we're given like contextual both to location and to time of day and day of week in this scenario content. And we also built a custom criteria for this, for the weather. So if we had a weather API that we could check, and if it's, say, over 20 degrees and sunny, you could maybe advertise ice cream instead of coffee. I don't know.
Oh yeah, that's nice. So this is actually a simple kind of personalization you made here.
Yeah, definitely. It's contextual to the area that they're in and the location that they're in. So yeah, it was really cool to have not just the Umbraco controlling the website, but also controlling the booking engine, like I mentioned earlier, but also these kind of big screens that are physically in each hotel.
Nice.
Yeah. And next up is the kind of in-room digital concierge in the hotels. So again, this came from the innovation team, and they thought it would be really cool to put a voice assistant available for those questions that you might phone front desk for or go along to the front desk and ask. So phase 1 was for those type of things. What time does the gym open? What time is breakfast? And what local attractions are there around? So we built an Alexa skill, which is an app for Amazon Echo, to give that information. And initially, because it was a prototype, we were going to just hard code that information. But we decided we already have opening times in the CMS for each location for all of these places. So why don't we just make an API? We've already got APIs for the booking engine. Why don't we build an API that can give these opening times and use those in the Alexa skill? So we did.
And I see they put small posters around it, so their guests know what to ask.
Yeah. So it says you can ask, so that people know which commands you can ask it. And this was when echoes were quite new and voice assistants in general were quite new, so people maybe weren't as used to asking Alexa or Google or whoever for information. Are
there guests actually using it, or are there a lot of people that are afraid of asking Alexa for something?
Good question. I don't actually have stats on that one. I'll need to get that one. But yes, as a consideration, people might not want the Echo to be listening to them.
What nice feature.
Yeah, definitely. And for us, it was really cool from a customer perspective and from a kind of geeky tech perspective as well, to see we could take that data that we've already got and use it not just on a website.
Would they be able to put in more questions that could be asked if they had, for instance, guests calling the reception about the same thing all the time?
So we do actually have a phase 2, which is on the next slide that I can show you. But for phase 1, it was you can update the content in one place. So say you change the gym from opening at 7 a.m. to 6 a.m. That would update it on the website. If you publish an Umbraco, it would also update it on the Alexa skill and the booking engine and anywhere else that was used. And we also integrated with a local events and attractions API so that we could give that information of what's happening nearby in that specific location. But for phase one, it was all, hey Alexa, give me information. When is the opening times? What's local? But for phase two, it was more of a kind of conversation. You could actually make things happen by speaking to Alexa, and you could order room service. So we actually directly integrated the room service to the restaurant system. So when you ordered it on the Alexa, it actually ordered your food, and then, you know, someone would bring it up to you. And you could purchase late checkout. So instead of having to go along to reception or to phone through to reception, you could do that through Alexa, and we in the background done some clever stuff to know which room you're in and which booking that is, and that we can extend your stay by an hour or two. So
phase one was pretty informal information, and phase two, it was actually interacting.
Yeah, we could actually do things and affect like your booking or order some room service. And one example I think is quite fun is that you can book a taxi. You could, for a certain time, to say catch your flight to the airport or something.
Yeah.
But for this one, there was no API. But I think it's important to mention it because sometimes you just need to make the technology look like it works. Even if so, and behind the scenes, this one just emailed front desk and asked front desk to call you a taxi. But if it works and it's a way that for folks to use the Alexa rather than phone and front desk, then yeah, there's not always an API for everything, unfortunately, and sometimes it's the low tech option can work the best.
But I guess booking a taxi for the airport also is quite important, right? I mean, they had to do it from the front desk, otherwise it would be a bad thing if they didn't.
Yeah, you don't want that to go wrong.
Nope.
And I do have, I'll show in a second just how we made sure that those things happen. So this side is a bit of an ugly screenshot, I realise that, but it's to show in the CMS we built a custom area where for each hotel you could manage each device, and these kind of device names that aren't really the most people friendly, we associated those with rooms because you have to know which room the person's staying in to be able to order them food or a taxi or to extend their stay. So we had an interface for the team to do that inside the CMS. So again, it's another thing that's just all coming from the one login, the one place to go and update content and data. And I think now there might be more enterprise systems for managing many devices from Amazon, but at the time there just wasn't. So we decided to build our own that was bespoke to Village. And this next slide shows the taxi example. We do have a kind of workflow built into this custom area that makes sure that the requests are actually actioned and to make sure that they happen. So we can update the status to, yeah, I've called that taxi now. And if not, it would escalate it to someone else to make sure that to make sure that the tech works and that people trust it. We have to have we kind of make sure underneath that the people process works as well as the tech process.
Okay.
So that was the Alexa skills and the two different phases that we had. There actually are a whole lot more that I've not went into because we were limited in time.
I could imagine.
But I just wanted to show a kind of before and after, or before and progress, because it kind of changed again from then, and it will continue to change because the site is still live. So for us, the platform selection and the architecture at the start that I showed you to make sure that we keep those integrations separate enough we can replace to make sure the app can be built upon was really important to us, because we do like to go live and then keep building upon the site. So I think in hindsight, looking back at the architecture, we got it right. We've been able to grow, and it's been a robust implementation of Umbraco that's let us add and remove features and systems as we've needed to for the client. So here it shows on the right hand side what the site kind of architecture looked like, what was coming from Umbraco for day one. So we had booking engine content, we had the website, and we had the Wi-Fi in the hotels was also content controlled from the CMS. And this is what happens when you let a developer make a diagram. But never mind all of the detail. The main thing is there's lots of information coming from Umbraco now for all these different systems.
Wow.
And some of them I've shown you the detail of, and some of them we've just not had time to. But yeah, we've done a lot of projects, and they've all kept the same Umbraco instance and added more places that use Umbraco either as a website or through headless APIs.
So it seems like it's a great project that you have built that has created a lot of value and return of investment for the end client and even the guests.
Yeah, definitely, and that's just as important. And yeah, for us, we kind of, when we look back at the dev, both the client requirements in the brief and those kind of dev requirements that we took from that, we think we have, as it says there, about a future-proof Umbraco ecosystem, and it's something that we're really happy with. And some of those projects that we've worked on are listed there, and some of them aren't. But yeah, we think that it's a case study we're really proud of, and I think it shows off when different teams work together, kind of getting different data, different information, different ideas, and you can build some really cool stuff.
Okay, well, you can definitely be proud of this, Carole.
Awesome. And just one little slide just talking about the future of tech. So I spoke to Martin, who's our innovation director, and he's been chatting a lot about kind of future, kind of post-COVID. The world's a bit different now, the tech's a bit different now. And this was some of his insight. And so pretty much every contact point can be digitized. But I think that's something that Village have shown even before COVID. I think they've kind of been quite prepared for it. You know, they already had digital check-in, contactless check-in. We've had those big screens. I didn't mention it, but one of the main things around those was that we didn't have to have leaflets and printed flyers around the hotel for each of those things. It's good for the environment, which is great. You get rid of all that paper, but also people don't want to pick up things and swap things now. So yeah, the big screens are really good for that. And things like being able to integrate with the restaurant APIs for room service, so that when people don't want to go to the restaurant. And this might be kind of full native apps that people want to build, or it might be building kind of progressive web app features into your existing website. It doesn't always have to be a big kind of daunting task to make it kind of future proof and to adapt. A lot of companies have had to adapt technology really quickly in the current environment. So hopefully the architecture that you build lets that happen. And that is us. And if you have any questions, you can get in touch on Twitter or an email, and you can find some of the information on the future of hotel tech. And if you go to equator.com/news, you'll find all of that information there.
Okay.
Did anyone have any questions?
It doesn't seem like it, Carole, but I think it has been great, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
So there's just so keep an eye out for more of these webinars coming. We will post this webinar. It's recorded, so we'll post it to the case study on umbraco.com, so you can always see it again if you want. Well, thank you very much, Carole, for your time.
Thanks for inviting us to share our work.
And see you all out there.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.